Shaq, Kenny, Chuck, and Ernie dive right into Game 2 between the Timberwolves and their opponent, with Minnesota showing up in dominant fashion. The crew wastes no time acknowledging the defensive intensity the Wolves brought from tip-off to final buzzer. Charles Barkley starts by praising Anthony Edwards, calling him the engine of this young squad. When Ant gets going early, Barkley says, "It's like the whole team feeds off that energy." Edwards dropped 28 points and, more importantly, set the tone on both ends of the floor. Shaq nods and adds that Edwards is playing grown man basketball right now. Kenny Smith highlights Minnesota's adjustment from Game 1. "You saw it in the ball movement," Kenny points out. "They weren't forcing things like they did in Game 1. They took better shots and controlled the pace." The Timberwolves had 25 assists in Game 2, and their ball sharing paid off in rhythm threes and easy looks at the rim. Shaq, as always, focuses on the paint presence. He gives a shout-out to Rudy Gobert, who controlled the boards and anchored the defense. "You may not always see it in the box score," Shaq says, "but Rudy made guys think twice before driving." Gobert finished with 12 rebounds and 3 blocks, but his impact went beyond the stat sheet. Ernie throws in a stat. Minnesota held their opponent to under 42% shooting. Chuck raises his eyebrows and chimes in, "You ain't winning many playoff games shooting that poorly." Credit to the Wolves' defense. Then comes the conversation about Karl-Anthony Towns. Kenny says Towns looked much more comfortable in Game 2, playing within the flow and not forcing bad shots. "He didn't try to do too much," Kenny explains. "When the double came, he passed out of it. When he had space, he attacked." Towns ended with 22 points and 9 rebounds, a far more efficient outing than Game 1. The crew also discusses how Minnesota's bench stepped up. Naz Reid gave solid minutes, hitting timely shots and helping stretch the floor. Chuck says, "That second unit didn't just maintain the lead, they extended it." He emphasizes how crucial bench depth is in a long series. Then the guys debate whether Minnesota's performance is sustainable. Shaq says yes, as long as the effort stays high. "Defense travels," he says. "You might not always shoot well, but if you bring that defensive intensity, you've got a shot every night." Chuck disagrees slightly. "They can't rely on Ant to carry them every game," he argues. "Somebody else gotta step up big if they want to win this series." The fellas wrap up by talking about the impact of the home crowd. Kenny says the energy in Minnesota was off the charts and helped fuel the team's momentum runs. "You could feel it through the TV," he laughs. Ernie asks the question on everyone's mind. What's next for Game 3? Chuck thinks it's going to come down to whether Minnesota can keep that same energy on the road. If they play defense like they did tonight, he says, they can win in any building. Shaq agrees, but adds that the other team is going to adjust too. "It's a chess match now," he says. "Game 3 will show us who's really got the edge." And with that, the breakdown ends, but one thing's clear, the Timberwolves made a statement. The series is tied, and now it's anybody's game.